Joining me right now is Jason Bartlett. He's a seventh-generation South African farmer who says he's been driven out of his country due to the violence being perpetrated on his community. He is seeking asylum in the United States and working to get help for white South African farmers and get a special designation here in the United States as they have in Australia. Jason, welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show.
Thank you. I feel blessed to be under the wing of God and the American people that support us.
Yeah, it also bears pointing out, folks, he's also a devoted Christian. Look, a lot of people in this country, a lot of people around the world don't know what's happening in South Africa. Why don't you tell the folks what your experience has been?
Folks, my experience is a ground-level South African is awful. The everyday hatred and the crisis that's in South Africa is horrific. The ministers and the people, the political party in control, Cyril Ramaphosa, is collapsing our country, bankrupting our country, and they are influencing people to shoot and kill the farmer, to slaughter the white people in South Africa. It's boiled from the killings and torturings and slaughtering of the South African, Afrikaner, and English white farmers, and it is now boiling over to the everyday people. There was a Hawks, one of the most famous crime investigators in South Africa, shot yesterday, execution style, in the back of the head. Everything is running amok. It is run by people that are incompetent, people that are corrupt and stealing our money. South African Airways is bankrupt. Eskom, our power utility, is completely bankrupt. In 2001, they won an award for one of the greatest companies in South Africa. Now they're 450 billion rand in debt. It's an atrocity.
Folks, we're going to be showing some images here that are pretty graphic. These pictures are what black people are doing in South Africa with the blessing, it seems, of the government there, going in, and if you're white, you have a target painted on your back. Let me ask you, has your family experienced personal loss with this new policy of driving whites out of South Africa?
Me personally, yes. And every single South African that I know knows somebody personally. I've had my cousin Dion, who I've got live on my Twitter feed. He was shot in the back of the head, the bullet coming out the front of his eye, strangled with fish nylon. Strangled with fish nylon. And then, just to put it on worse, they burnt him with the grill that he was doing while he was wearing a Born in Africa shirt. He was born in Africa, he was butchered in Africa, and he survived. He's a survivor of one of those attacks. He supports us, and he is traumatized, going blind. That's just one family member. My girlfriend's grandmother and grandfather. The grandfather was tortured for over 3 hours, and they said, now we can leave because the white bastard is dead. But before they left, they raped her grandmother to death. The worst part is that the doctor, 2 weeks later when the grandfather died, they said it's from natural causes. The grandmother raped to death. The corruption in South Africa, that the police and the doctors, they say that they died of natural causes.
Folks, our guest right now is Jason Bartlett, seventh-generation South African who's trying to sound the alarm bells. A, he wants to come to the United States for safety. B, he's also wanted to bring attention to the world about the genocide that he claims is happening inside of South Africa. And that brings us to the current climate in America right now, Jason. There are those in America, some left-wing extremists, some of the people I call Black Lives Matter, who would say that this genocide that is being undertaken by the black government in South Africa is justice for the years of apartheid as British colonial, white colonials subjugated South Africa. What would you say in response to that?
Well, my plea to liberals and the far left would be, come and take a look for yourself. The facts are out there. There's documentaries by Katie Hopkins called The Killing Fields, by Lauren Southern called Farmlands. There's YouTubers. The facts are out there. And I would invite you to come to my Twitter feed at Buffalo Bartlett and come and take a look and hear the testimonies, the voices of those real people. They are being dehumanized. This is not what the left stands for. I thought the left stands for equality and justice for all. These people in South Africa will support a constitution in America. They will thrive. They will build businesses. They will create farms. They will help feed the American nation if they were here. They are begging, and their voices are live at Buffalo Bartlett. Come and see. This is not asking for any donation. This is come and hear the voices of the very victims in South Africa. There are thousands of them.
Jason, why do you think the mainstream press here in America and frankly around the world isn't covering what's going on, what your family's experienced, the rapes, the murders, the kicking, the stealing of land? Why don't you think the American press and others are covering this?
They're not covering it. First of all, it starts with our particular government, which is so corrupt that they purposely hide these attacks. Since 2007, farm attacks aren't on the statistics anymore. They don't even go out to the scenes. And I know personal ones, and I've got personal proof of where the police don't come out to the scenes. We had in the Northwest, we had an attacker on one of our church members who came in there and bit him, and because they barbaric in what they do. They started biting him, almost bit his finger off, and he actually defended him and shot him in his own home. And the police got there and arrested him.
Wow. And so the whole subtext of all of this is the South African government, those in control, want to expel white people out of South Africa. Do your family members, the people you talk to, do they want to stay, or do they just want to find another land where they're not beaten up, raped, or killed?
Of course, there are hundreds of thousands of us that would want to stay. I would love to stay. I am a South African. I'm born and bred. I have a passion for sport, a passion for people, a passion for the Lord God Almighty that we serve as people. We have the same morals we go for and we strive, but this is no longer home for us anymore. Yes, we win South Africa wins the World Cup, and well done to the physical players. But that is just a hiding behind that we win a World Cup and everything's honky-dory. But it's not. There's a crisis. Our people are being butchered and slaughtered, and it's no longer our home. We are being dehumanized. And I'm speaking not as anything else or any group. I'm speaking as a natural-born South African on the ground level. As the farm boys speak to me, the Afrikaner, the English, I am trying to be, and I want to be their voice in America. The very people that are watching this that made America great again, your voice needs to be our voice.
For those out there who don't know, the United States government, through your elected officials, have approved $510 million annually to South Africa. And let me ask you, Jason Bartlett, do you believe the American taxpayers are funding a white genocide in South Africa?
In my personal opinion, they are funding it dollar by dollar, yes. Every single cent that is going to South Africa, no protection has ever been done. In 2010, so they can't say that there was no possibility of subduing farm attacks. In 2010, when South Africa had to promote itself for the World Cup soccer, all of a sudden the farm attacks, an order came from the government and went down that the farm attacks started slowing down. In the last 20 years, on average, it's not exact fact, but it is very, very accurate in those terms, there's approximately two farm attacks every single day and two brutal farm murders every single week for the last 20 years. Why has nobody said anything? By the time the mainstream media finds out about this, it's going to be too late, and I don't want people to remember us next year. Yeah. I want them to stand up for us now. Well,
Jason Bartlett, I think a lot of folks here in the press in America, they do know about it already. They're just not reporting on it. Jason Bartlett, everybody, 7th-generation South African farmer who says he's been driven out of his country because of the violence, the white genocide going on there in South Africa. Give that Twitter handle one more time if folks want to go check it out for themselves.
Come and speak to the real people. Come and see their stories. Come and hear my testimony. Come and hear my cousins and my families and everybody. Come and hear our souls are crying out. Please help us today, now.
Thank you.
Help us today.
Jason Bartlett, everybody. At Buffalo Bartlett is the Twitter handle. Thank you, sir, for being here on the Salcedo Show.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. So spread it around there for us, please.
Yes, sir. Telephone number is 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. Well, a lot to chew on this morning, yes? Again, under the umbrella of unaccountable government. It's Chris Salcedo Show, Newsmax TV, and the Voice of Texas.